Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at setting up Office 365 hosted email exchange through Microsoft. Now, with hosted email through Microsoft, you do have a couple of options for plans. Now, here we see there are 3 plans, but only 2 of them include email. So the first plan, this is pretty much just email, contacts, and calendars, plus a terabyte of OneDrive storage, plus Skype for Business, which Skype for Business is pretty nice for medium or large size businesses. What you can do is instant message among employees. You can host video chats, and you can also host online meetings with both people within your organization and external folks as well. So it's kind of nice, especially if you're using another online meeting solution like GoToMeeting or something like that. You can potentially switch over to Skype for Business if the features line up with what you're looking for your meetings. So you might be able to save some money there, which is nice. So this is one plan that includes email. And then the other plan that includes email is the one on the right here, the Office 365 Business Premium. Now the difference here is that you still get the online email, contacts, and calendars, still get Skype for Business, and you still get OneDrive, but what it adds in is the Microsoft Office suite. So your Outlook desktop application, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Publisher, those you can install on your computer. Now, for that, you get 5 computer installations at a time per user. Now, again, that's at a time. So, say an employee has a computer, that computer gets retired and replaced. You can remove that from the subscription, and so it's not going to use another license when you activate the new computer. Because you're still only at one at a time. You just have to manage that within Office 365. Now, for the billing, you do have 2 options. You can do an annual commitment where you sign up for a year at a time, and you do get a lower price that way, or you can go month to month if you don't want to be on the hook for an annual commitment. Now, with just the email and OneDrive and Skype, if you do the annual commitment, it's going to be $5 a month per user. And then if you do month to month, it's going to be $6. So if we switch there, you'll see the price changes to $6. Now, the bigger difference is going to be on the Business Premium. If you do an annual commitment, it's going to be $12.50. If you do month to month, it's going to be $15 a month. So if we switch that over, you'll see it goes up a little bit there. So you do get the better price for sure by doing the longer commitment, but you do have the option there, so it's totally up to you. Now I'm going to go with just a monthly commitment because I'm only going to be using this for the tutorial, and then I'm just going to cancel it. So we'll say bye now. And then we'll go ahead and fill in the information here. And then for the email address, you can use an existing email address that you have, or you can use the one that you will be using once you set up the service. So I'm just going to do that. And then the domain name that I'm going to be using for the tutorial is rmdemo.net. And then we'll go ahead and fill in the rest of the blanks here, and I'll meet you on the next screen. And then on the next screen, it's just going to ask us where we'll be using the service, and this is just how it calculates sales tax if it applies to where you'll be using the service. And so we will go ahead and fill in our address here. Perfect. And then on the next screen, it's going to have you enter your username, which what that will turn into is your email address. So if I put in Ryan, it'll make my email address ryan@rmdemo.net once we get that part set up there. So what it's going to have us choose now is a tenancy domain, which this is just a temporary domain until we set up our own. Now you may have to use it down the road for troubleshooting if a weird issue comes up. You'll probably never have to use it again, but there's that outside chance that you might, but you'll be able to see it in your setup in the portal once you get everything going. So you don't have to memorize it. You just have to choose something that's unique. So if someone else got it first, we can't have it. So our site's going to be rmdemo.net. So let's see if rmdemo is available, which it is not. So let's just do rmdemo.net. Now you can't have a period in there, so I just spelled out dot. Again, it's temporary, so it doesn't really matter. And then we'll create a password. Now you'll want this to be a good password. The reason being is this password can be used to control Office 365 services for your whole organization. So you'll want to make sure it's a good one and not something like password 123 or your pet's name or something silly like that. So now it's going to have you enter a phone number just to prove that you're a real person. So I'm just going to pop my phone number in, and I will see you guys on the next screen. And then once you put your phone number in, it's going to go ahead and text you a verification code. And I actually just got mine here. And now it's just verifying our information. There we go. So since we entered our address earlier, it knows how much sales tax that we will have to pay every month. And so it's going to be $6.48 per user per month. And we can click next. And now it's just going to have us put in the payment information. So I'm going to put my card in there, and I will meet you guys on the next screen. Okay, so now that we've finished the payment information, set up our temporary user ID here, which again we're doing that rmdemo.net.onmicrosoft.com, which that will be shortened once we get everything set up here. So now we can go ahead and click Let's Get Started, and we'll begin the setup. Okay, so once we get started with the setup here, it'll give us all these options. Now these are our apps that are included with our subscription. The one that we're going to want to go to first is the admin portal, which is the gray one here. Now only users that are marked as administrators will have access to this, so you want to be careful who you mark as an administrator, but you'll probably want to have a second administrator within your organization beyond yourself, just in case something happens. Hopefully it won't, but it would certainly be a good idea to have someone else that can help out there. So it's going to want to take us on a tutorial, but we're going to be okay without it. And the first thing that it wants us to do is set up our domain name. So we can go ahead and go to setup here. And we already own the domain, so we can go ahead and put it in here. It's going to be rmdemo.net. And there we go. So it's going to have us put in a text entry, which is pretty easy to do in cPanel. So I'm just going to go to one side here, and I have my cPanel open on the other side. Now if your cPanel looks a little bit different, that's totally okay. There are a bunch of different themes for cPanel, so it might look a little bit different depending on your hosting provider, but don't sweat it. All the features for the most part are going to be the same, so you'll be able to follow along. Even if your icons look different or the colors are a little bit different, you're going to be perfectly okay. So now to enter the text record, we can go to our advanced zone editor here, and then for the type we will want to go with text, and then for the name, this is where it gets a little weird. So on the Microsoft portal, it says that it should be an @ sign. But what that translates to is just being the domain name here. So it'll be rmdemo.net. And then once we hit tab, it's going to automatically put a period at the end. That's perfectly okay. Now, Microsoft has these in a different order than cPanel, so we'll just want to make sure that we don't transpose them. The TTL, or time to live, is 3600. And then our text value is this guy right here, which if you just click the copy button there, it'll automatically put it on your clipboard for you. And then we can just say add record. And now we can hit verify. And it takes just a second. Now it's going to prompt us to add users at this point, but for now we're just going to keep going through with the setup. You can add users whenever you want, so right now we're just going to focus on the setup here. So we can go ahead and click next. And as you add users, you can also migrate email. So say you're switching from Google Apps for work or another email provider, you can use Office 365's migration utilities to automatically bring the messages over. That way you don't have to worry about it, and you don't have to have your users migrate their own messages or bombard your IT folks if you have them with migrating as well. Office can do it automatically, and it's pretty reliable. It's not the fastest in terms of transferring the information, but when you calculate that it's automatic, it's not a bad way to go at all. So we can go ahead and click next because we're just going to do our domain setup for now. Now, here we have two options. The Setup My Online Services for Me, which is going to have you update your DNS records at the domain registrar, which that will make things more complicated down the road potentially as you work on your website. So what we'll want to do is say I'll manage my own DNS records. And it'll take a moment to calculate the records that we need. And so for our MX records, this is our mail exchange record. We will want to go into cPanel, and then under email we'll see MX entry. And now by default, cPanel is set up to deliver mail to its own server. So cPanel usually comes along with Squirrel Mail, I believe Horde, and there's another one as well. I forget the name of it. I haven't used cPanel Mail in a very long time. But it's set to use the web server as the email server. So what we want to do is switch that to a remote mail exchanger, which remote just means off the cPanel server. And then we have the local entry here. So this is if we were to keep the mail hosted on our cPanel server. That's how it would recognize that. So we want to go ahead and remove that because we don't want to use our server for email. We want to use Microsoft's server. So we're going to leave the priority at 0. And again, the host name is just the @ sign. We don't have to translate that here. cPanel does it for us because it knows how MX records are supposed to work. And then we can copy and paste. And then the time to live, you don't have to worry about that. 3600 is the default, but it's not a big difference anyway, but you don't have to worry about it. And then for our CNAME records, we'll go back to our advanced zone editor, and we will switch the type to CNAME, and the name is going to be Auto Discover. And then when you hit tab, it'll automatically add in your domain name there. Time to live is going to be 3600. And then the CNAME is going to be where it goes. So that's going to be the autodiscover.outlook.com. And then we just say add record and it adds them for us. Now, as you can see, we can just switch it back to CNAME, and then for the host name, it's just going to be SIP. Do one more with you guys here, and then I'll just put them in and catch up with you. So we'll just copy that into the CNAME box. The address is always going to go in the CNAME box, and then time to live is going to be 3600. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug in the rest of them, and then I will meet up with you guys to do the text records and the service records. So now we have all of our CNAME records here, so we can see the ones at the bottom here match up with our CNAME section over here. And up next, we just have 3 more to go. We're going to add in our text record and 2 service records. So for the text record, we're going to switch it to text. For the name, it's just going to be the rmdemo.net, so it'll be your domain name there. Time to live, again, is 3600 milliseconds. And the text data, we will just copy and paste. And there we go. So there's our text record. Now, the service records, this is where it gets a little fun because it's not built into cPanel the way that would make it easy. So we'll have to go a little bit more slowly on this one. But if we switch to a service record, and now for the name, we see we have our service and then protocol. So the service is _SIP, the protocol is _TLS. So what we're going to do is service.protocol.our_domain. So it's going to be our service, which is _SIP, .our protocol, which is _TLS, and then it's going to be .our domain name, so rmdemo.net. And then time to live, unsurprisingly, is 3600. The priority is 100. The wait, as we can see, is 1. Port for this one is 443. And then our target is this right here. Now, these records are for Skype for Business, which used to be called Link, so there are still some traces of the Link name, one of them being in the service records here. So then we can go ahead and add that record. And now we'll just do it for the other ones. So again, we're going to do a service record, which is abbreviated SRV. And then our service is this right here. And then we're going to do period, and then protocol, which is TCP, so _TCP, and then .our domain name. And then if you just hit tab, it'll fill the domain in for you. And then our time to live, 3600. Our priority is 100 again. The wait is still 1. The port for this one is 5061. And then the target is just this guy right here. And then we can add the record. And so now we've added all of the records that Microsoft wants us to. So we will go ahead and verify. Now this will take a moment to verify, so we'll let it go here. And now if everything checks out, you will reach this survey screen here. And so it was pretty easy, I'd say, so we'll go ahead and give it 5 stars. What you want to rate it, that's up to you, but I'll be nice and say 5 stars and go to the Office 365 Admin Center. So now we're all set with cPanel on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that guy. So now we've gone ahead and set up our new domain. Now what we still need to do is switch over our email address to the new domain. Now because we only set up the one user account, it's going to be pretty easy to do. all we have to do is go to Users and Active Users, and then here's my account. So we'll click on it, and now under username/email we can click Edit, and what we'll have to do is first add an alias. So what I want my email to be is going to be ryan@rmdemo.net. We'll say add, and so now we want to get rid of this monstrosity and bury it. So what we'll want to do is set our cleaner email on our own domain as primary. So we'll say set as primary, and now it's going to give us this warning. So the nuts and bolts of this warning is that our username has changed, so we'll have to sign out and sign back in. So what we can do is click Save, and it'll take a moment. And now it's going to force us to sign out, which is okay. And now we're going to say use another account because our username changed. So it's ryan@rmdemo.net, and then password. And now we're right back to our admin center. So now we have successfully set up Office 365 to work on our domain that we use with a cPanel host. So that's the basics of getting it set up, and then in future videos I will go ahead and show you how to take it from there with setting up Outlook, setting up Skype for Business, the whole deal there. So stay tuned for that, and at this point you've gone ahead and successfully set up your Office 365.